Well, finally today, it's estimated that close to 65 million people in the U.S. live with some type of disability. And according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, about 11% of them take part in some type of wildlife-related activity. But as Ranger Nick shows us, there's one gentleman whose mission is not only making that number go higher, but to make their disabilities a non-issue altogether.
Well, if you watch the Georgia Farm Monitor, you know that old Ranger Nick is a fan of the outdoors and that we're a fan of Georgia Grown. I want to introduce you to a gentleman that started an organization called Outdoors Without Limits, OWLS for short, which first of all, I love the name. Mr. Kirk Thomas is with me. He started an organization right here in Winterville, Georgia to involve folks with disabilities to get outside and hunt and fish. Mr. Thomas started this because of a personal story that he had an injury back several years ago. Would you share with us the story of what inspired you to start OWLS?
Well, about in 1992, I had a hunt lease in Alabama where I lived at that time, and went down there to go hunting that weekend, and went in on my stand and passed a real nice buck because I didn't want to fool with him basically, and was walking back to my truck and had a tree fall on me and landed on my shoulders, went down, kicked me out, but as a result of that, it absolutely crushed my back, and then you know, I'm a T12 paraplegic today because of it.
And so this event happened to you, and we may talk a little bit later of it. Maybe this was meant to be, because this happened to you and it inspired you to start this organization. Talk to us about that moment when you said, I want to do something to help others that are in a situation like myself to enjoy the outdoors like you've always done.
Well, first of all, Nick, I've always looked at it as the greatest blessing of my life. You know, I was just in the right place at the right time, and I thank God every day for it. But what inspired me basically is I got involved with the Alabama Independent Living Council, and the first meeting I went to, there were 50 or 60 disabled people in there, and at that time I didn't know there was 50 or 60 disabled people in the world other than me. But, you know, when I got around these folks, I started asking, do you hunt, do you fish? And the answer was always no. And then, you know, why? And then, of course, it became, well, nobody to take me. I've never been. I can't afford it, stuff like that. So there's so many barriers, you know, keeping them from participating, something I took for, you know, granted. And then what most people take for granted, you know.
Right.
So it bothered me. And then, you know, in 1996, I envisioned the Wheeling Sportsman program and got it up and running, and very successful program today with the NWTF. And then, but you know, it was time for me to move on. And so 8 years ago, I started Outdoors Without Limits, you know.
Now let's say I'm watching at home. I've got a disability and I've been outside of getting out in the outdoors for a while. Want to get involved. Mr. Thomas, what do I do? How do I get involved in OWLS?
Well, you know, we're totally inclusive. We recognize anybody with a disability, and we want to give them that opportunity to experience what most people take for granted. And all they got to do is just go to the website, contact us, go to Facebook, and just get in touch with us. I mean, we want them involved.
Yeah, and you're going to talk to this man right here and email with this man, the big boss of the whole organization, which I think is so amazing. It's such a family-oriented group. So if I'm disabled, I reach out to this guy. The answer is yes, you can be involved. Let's say I'm somebody that wants to go out and maybe help an individual with a disability and serve as a guide on a hunt or fishing trip. What do I do then?
Well, same thing. You just contact us, let us know you have interest in getting involved. We'll explain to you what we do and how we do it and things like that. But, you know, we're totally volunteer dependent, so we have to have volunteers. So I encourage anybody to step up and help us change and save lives. I promise you, they'll get theirs saved just as well.
So I'm standing out here below one of the many deer stands out on this piece of property, and the difference that OWLS has made has got to just be incredible. If anybody would know what difference OWLS has made, it would be the guy that started it 8 years ago. Mr. Thomas, some snippets of the most special moments and things that you have seen over those years. Tell us about that.
You know, Nick, it's amazing. We've had participants come to our events that were contemplating suicide, and we've changed their life and saved their life. And we've seen people who thought it was nothing other than a beer can or liquor bottle, you know, involved in their life, and we've seen those thrown away. And we've even had participants that met families that, you know, to be honest with you, they've even got adopted. So, I mean, the focus is opportunity. Yeah. And our focus is changing and saving lives, and that's what we do. Whether you're disabled, whether you're not, it doesn't matter. You get involved with OWLS, we're going to change and save your life.
It's incredible. I hope that this has inspired you today like you have. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for spending time with me. Absolutely. You're really an inspiration to a lot of folks. And check out that link on the screen there to learn more about owls. And while you're online, check out our Facebook page at Ranger Nick and the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page. And for all of us at the Monitor, I'm Ranger Nick, reminding you that enthusiasm is contagious. And I hope you pass it on just like we've learned from Mr. Thomas today. Y'all, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here again next month. See ya.